What happens when love blinds us to the wild nature lurking beneath the surface? Camille Thorne thought she had tamed the untamable, her beloved chimpanzee, Baxter. But this heartbreaking story reveals the terrifying cost of mistaking a wild animal for a pet. Stay with us to hear the full truth behind the tragedy that shook Lexington, Kentucky, and changed how we see exotic animals forever. Imagine thinking you've found the perfect companion, one so unique, so extraordinary, that the world can't help but watch your every move. But sometimes, the line between love and danger blurs, and what you think is a dream quickly turns into a nightmare. This is the chilling true story of Camille Thorne and Baxter, her chimpanzee son, whose story warns us about the wild instincts lurking beneath the surface when humans try to tame nature itself. Camille Thorne was living what many would call a dream life. At 34, she was stylish, confident, and wildly successful, having built a massive online following from her cozy suburban home in Lexington, Kentucky. But Camille's fame wasn't born from fashion tips or travel vlogs. It came from Baxter. Baxter wasn't her child, not even human. He was a chimpanzee. She had adopted him when he was just 2 years old, claiming he'd been rescued from an illegal exotic animal breeder in rural Mississippi. At first, Baxter was small, clumsy, and utterly adorable, the perfect star for Camille's curated digital world. But she didn't just treat him like a pet. She raised him like a child, dressing him at the dinner table and teaching him to sit and smile for photos. Her followers couldn't get enough, flooding her page until it exploded with over 800,000 fans captivated by what they dubbed a real-life Planet of the Apes, only cuter. To her fans, Camille was an animal lover. To her neighbors, she was obsessed. Behind the cameras, Baxter had a life just like a human child. His own bedroom with a twin bed, shelves full of toys and closets packed with matching outfits. Each year, Camille threw elaborate birthday parties with custom cakes, hats, and guests. "He's not a pet, he's my son," Camille insisted in interviews. But not everyone saw the charm. Neighbors grew uneasy, disturbed by the way Baxter would glare through fences at strangers and by the guttural, chilling screams echoing late into the night. One neighbor described Camille's devotion as blind. Baxter was never truly tame. Deep down, Camille knew it too. Baxter wasn't born in the wild, nor was he raised among his own kind. Rescued from a roadside breeder, he was a chimpanzee caught between two worlds. Brilliant and affectionate, yes, but also wild and unpredictable. Camille often described Baxter as a miracle. Intelligent, emotionally attached, and capable of understanding over 100 English words. He learned to open doors, sort colors, and mimic facial expressions. But as Baxter grew, the illusion began to crumble. By the time he was 7, he weighed over 140 pounds, stood more than 4 feet tall, and his muscles were thick and powerful. Neighbors reported terrifying noises, deep, guttural screams in the dead of night, followed by loud crashes. Twice, Baxter shattered the wooden fence surrounding Camille's home, escaping into neighbors' yards before being coaxed back. A delivery driver even reported Baxter lunging at him through a glass window. Camille laughed it off online, calling it a mood swing, but experts who study chimpanzees saw a very different truth. By 7 years old, chimpanzees are stronger than 5 adult men combined, and they can be extremely dangerous. No amount of affection could erase millions of years of raw, untamed nature hidden beneath Baxter's charming exterior. Despite all the warning signs screaming around her, Camille refused to see the danger. Baxter wasn't just an animal, he was family. As the years passed, her delusion deepened. The first major incident shattered any illusions. A spring day family play date turned horrific when Baxter bit Camille's younger cousin so deeply it required stitches. Shaken and confused, the man wanted to report the attack, but Camille begged him not to, claiming Baxter had only acted out of fear. She paid the medical bills, deleted all footage, and told her followers the visit had gone perfectly. Then came the day Baxter escaped again, this time prying open a second-floor window and smashing a neighbor's bird feeder with a rake stolen from Camille's tools. When confronted, Baxter hissed and bared his teeth, pounding his fists on a metal shed roof until animal control was called. Camille appeared barefoot, frantic, begging the neighbor to keep quiet. She lured Baxter back with grapes as if nothing dangerous had happened. Online, she repeated her mantra. He's harmless when he's loved, but love doesn't erase instinct. It doesn't strip away the wildness buried deep inside. Even those closest to Camille admitted she clung to a fantasy that love alone could civilize Baxter. But the cracks were visible even on camera. Sometimes Baxter would swat phones away during videos or suddenly lunge at the camera lens. Camille laughed nervously, brushing it off, but the tension was real. The flicker of fear in her eyes was unmistakable. Then, on a clear Saturday afternoon, July 9th, 2022, that fear exploded into a nightmare. Camille had planned a backyard livestream party to celebrate hitting 100,000 subscribers. Around 20 guests, close friends, collaborators, and local fans mingled under balloons and banners, sipping champagne and snapping photos with Baxter. Dressed in khaki shorts and a tiny Hawaiian shirt, the atmosphere was light until the music blared, the camera flashes flickered, and the crowd grew loud, fast, and overwhelming. Baxter paced nervously. Camille tried to calm him with juice, but suddenly he snatched her phone and hurled it across the patio. Guests laughed uneasily, unsure if this was part of the show. Then, without warning, Baxter lunged, slamming Camille to the ground with the crushing force of his entire body. No build-up, no warning, just the sickening sound of flesh tearing and a nightmare unleashed. His teeth sank into her cheek, then her neck. Her screams piercing the air, sharp and frantic, echoing across the yard. Blood sprayed over the stone tiles as Camille thrashed beneath him. The room screamed, frozen between shock, yanking out clumps of hair, tearing chunks of flesh from her face. Camille's screams twisted into gurgles as she desperately tried to crawl away, only to be dragged back like a rag doll. Amid sobs and gasps, one guest managed to dial 911, her voice cracking through the phone. "He's eating her! The chimp is eating her! Oh my God, there's blood everywhere! Please, someone get here! He won't stop." But by the time help arrived, it was already far too late. The first police officers pulled up 6 minutes after the call, but those minutes stretched endlessly in horror. The scene was nightmarish. Camille lay motionless, her body mangled, while Baxter remained on top of her, frenzied and savage, chewing and tearing at what was left of her face. Body cam footage captured the haunting moment. The officers entered the backyard, the camera swinging toward the grisly sight, cutting through the yard. They were scared for their lives, several of the men. Some officer's voice, steady but shaken, broke the silence. "We have a visual. Subject is consuming flesh." The team froze, paralyzed by the unthinkable. This wasn't a situation they'd trained for. A chimpanzee that ran out of reaction. Baxter, the companion Camille once adored, collapsed instantly beside her, blood pooling beneath their bodies. But the horror did not end. A neighbor nearby sobbed uncontrollably, whispering through tears. Aaron raised him like a baby, and he died like a monster. In that moment, the truth was undeniable. Baxter wasn't a child or a pet. He was a force of nature, wild and uncontrollable despite any affection or good intentions. The backyard, once filled with laughter and celebration, fell deathly silent except for the officers securing the scene. When paramedics arrived, it was already too late. Camille Thorne was pronounced dead on arrival. Her body had been brutally torn apart, with severe facial trauma and deep dismemberment so grotesque it stunned the medical team. This wasn't just a tragedy, it was a brutal reminder of how disastrously things had gone wrong. News of the incident spread quickly through Lexington, Kentucky. Neighbors who once waved to Camille now stared at her home in disbelief, struggling to comprehend how someone who treated an animal like a child could meet such a horrific end. As the community mourned, a storm of controversy ignited. Local officials and animal rights groups questioned the legality and wisdom of exotic pet ownership. Should dangerous animals like chimpanzees be kept as pets at all? The tragedy sparked heated debates about animal rights, public safety, and the dark underbelly of exotic pet trade. Within days, public officials began pushing for stricter laws to regulate exotic animal ownership. Meanwhile, Baxter's remains were tested for disease, revealing no signs of rabies or illness. His behavior was not caused by sickness. It was primal, instinctual aggression that had been building beneath the surface. Online, the backlash was fierce and divided. Some blamed Camille, saying no amount of love could tame a wild animal. She should have known the risks, they argued. Others mourned her death, but pointed to a bigger failure: an unregulated, exotic pet industry driven by irresponsible breeding, careless selling, and a culture that treats dangerous animals as cute entertainment for profit. Many saw the desire for internet fame and viral pet videos as fueling a dangerous trend. Encouraging people to own animals never meant to be domesticated. In the weeks that followed, officials made it clear this was a wake-up call. A statement from local animal control described the incident as tragic, but highlighting the undeniable risks of keeping wild animals in domestic settings. Camille Thorne's story became more than just a heartbreaking loss. It symbolized the thin, fragile line between love and nature, and how easily it can be crossed. She believed love and care could tame the wildness inside Baxter, but the truth is harsher. Love cannot erase nature. Baxter didn't betray her. He didn't turn into a monster. He became what he always was: a wild animal, bound by instincts too powerful to suppress, no matter how deeply he was loved. This tragedy serves as a painful reminder: wild animals are not pets, and treating them as such can end in devastation. While Camille and Baxter's story began with affection and companionship, it ended in bloodshed, one that echoes far beyond one family. The consequences of owning wild animals like chimpanzees reach into communities and families, often with deadly results. As authorities close this tragic chapter, the final lesson is clear: exotic pet ownership isn't a private choice, it's a public safety issue. Until laws change and society truly understands that wild animals belong in the wild, tragedies like this will happen again. The blood-stained patio where Camille once celebrated her online success now stands as a grim monument to a fatal mistake. The framed photo of Camille and Baxter smiling in happier times is now a haunting reminder of all that was lost. The gate marked "No exotic pets allowed" remains locked, but for those willing to listen, the lesson remains wide open. Wild animals are not toys, and they are certainly not pets. Remember this: chimpanzees are wild creatures, not companions. Until we learn this, tragedies like Camille's will repeat themselves. Camille's tragic story is a powerful reminder that no amount of love can erase millions of years of wild instinct. Wild animals are not pets. They belong in their natural habitats, where their behaviors are understood and respected. Every year, countless tragedies unfold because humans underestimate the dangers of exotic animals, and the consequences are often devastating. It's our responsibility to protect wildlife by honoring their nature, not trying to control it. If this story moved you, please take a moment to reflect on how we interact with the wild creatures around us. Share this video to spread awareness and join the conversation about protecting these incredible animals. Together, we can build a safer world for both humans and wildlife. Remember, respect, caution, and education are the keys to coexistence. Don't let another life be lost to ignorance or misplaced affection. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe for more stories that matter.